Hello everyone, welcome to my update US gossip channel. For months, the quiet tension that had been building around Ronnie had gone unnoticed by most of the people who worked with him, but not by Michael or Tracy. They had always sensed that there was something slightly off about the letters that kept surfacing, letters that had the power to ruin reputations, destroy alliances, and twist the truth to favor whoever controlled them. And now, as the final revelation unfolded, it became painfully clear: Ronnie had forged the letters. Every single one of them. What had once seemed like an unfortunate coincidence or a strange misunderstanding was now exposed as deliberate deceit, a masterfully executed illusion meant to manipulate emotions, wealth, and loyalty. But as with all lies, it had an expiration date. And when it expired, Ronnie's carefully built world came crashing down around him like glass shattering under the weight of truth. It all began when the first letter appeared 3 months ago. It was addressed to Michael, signed by a powerful businessman named Grant Halvorson, someone who held significant influence over their contracts. The letter accused Michael of leaking confidential information, and though Michael vehemently denied it, the damage was done. His reputation took a hit, his partnerships wavered, and his confidence eroded. The wording of the letter was sharp, too specific, too personal to be easily dismissed. Everyone believed it was real, because Grant's signature, perfectly replicated, seemed unquestionable. Michael had confronted Grant directly, and though the older man swore he had never written it, even he appeared uncertain when Michael showed him the letter. "That's my signature," Grant admitted reluctantly, tracing the ink with a trembling finger. "But I didn't write this." That was the first crack in Ronnie's facade. He had stood quietly in the corner that day, his hands folded, watching as the chaos he'd created began to ripple outward. His eyes had gleamed with something unreadable, an odd mix of satisfaction and fear. He didn't expect Michael to fight back so hard. He didn't expect Tracy, Michael's closest confidant, to dig deeper either. She wasn't the type to accept surface explanations. She was methodical, persistent, and her intuition had saved Michael's company before. So when a second letter surfaced, this time implicating Tracy in a supposed plot to defraud investors, she knew instantly that something was terribly wrong. The second letter was even more elaborate. It bore official company letterhead, matched formatting styles from archived emails, and contained a forged signature of an attorney who'd worked with them years ago. To an untrained eye, it was perfect. But to Tracy, who had spent over a decade dealing with legal documents, something in the rhythm of the language felt unnatural. It was too polished. Too rehearsed. The writer had mimicked professionalism but missed authenticity, the small imperfections that come from real emotion. That's when Tracy decided to test a theory. She didn't tell anyone at first, not even Michael. She simply asked Ronnie, who happened to work in document analysis and verification, to help her confirm whether the letter was genuine. He hesitated for a fraction of a second too long before agreeing. When he finally said yes, his voice cracked slightly, the first visible sign of guilt. Within hours, Tracy had her answer. Ronnie returned the document, claiming that the letter was authentic and that all verification signs matched perfectly. But she had already sent a copy to an external forensic handwriting expert, someone who owed her a favor. The report came back with damning clarity: the letter was forged, and whoever had done it was not only talented but also familiar with internal document structures, someone with access, someone inside the circle. The most damning piece of evidence was the use of a rare brand of ink cartridge, one used only in a specific model of pen. The expert's final note was chilling: "This ink formula matches the type used in the personal pen you mentioned, the one belonging to Ronnie." When Tracy showed the results to Michael, his hands trembled. He didn't want to believe it. Ronnie had been his friend, his trusted ally for years. They'd worked late nights together, shared personal struggles, celebrated professional victories. Michael had even once helped Ronnie through financial trouble, lending him money when his accounts had been frozen after a failed business deal. To think that the same man could have forged letters to destroy him, it was unbearable. But denial only lasts so long when the evidence is undeniable. The turning point came when Michael confronted Ronnie face to face. It was in the conference room, under harsh fluorescent lights that made every expression impossible to hide. "Ronnie," Michael said quietly, holding the forged letter between them like a weapon. "You know what this is, don't you?" Ronnie's eyes darted to the paper, then back to Michael's face. He tried to smile, but it faltered almost immediately. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his tone falsely calm. But Michael's voice grew stronger, steadier, filled with controlled fury. "Don't insult my intelligence. The ink, the letterhead, the phrasing, it all points back to you. Tracy knows. I know. You forged these letters." For a long moment, silence filled the room. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly. Then Ronnie exhaled and dropped into a chair, his face collapsing under the weight of truth. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he muttered. "I just needed leverage. You both were going to cut me out of the next deal, and I panicked. I thought if I made you two turn on each other, just for a while, I could buy myself some time." Tracy's anger flared immediately. "You destroyed people's reputations for time? You made us question each other, nearly lost us our contracts, just because you were desperate?" Ronnie didn't answer. He stared down at his hands, now trembling. "It wasn't supposed to get out of control," he said weakly. "I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. But lies, once unleashed, rarely stop where you want them to." The fake letters had already spread like wildfire. The company's board had seen them. Clients had seen them. Even family members had heard whispers. Undoing the damage was no longer possible. The revelation of Ronnie's forgery didn't just expose his deceit, it completely dismantled his life. His career, his friendships, his credibility, everything he'd built came undone in a single afternoon. When Michael presented the forensic report to the board, there was no going back. The decision was unanimous: Ronnie was terminated immediately, pending legal investigation. But that wasn't the worst part. The emotional fallout was devastating. Michael, who had once defended Ronnie against accusations of incompetence, now looked at him with pure disappointment. Tracy, who had trusted him with confidential files, couldn't bring herself to speak to him again. Even those who had been neutral turned away. No one wanted to be associated with a man who'd gone so far as to forge letters to manipulate outcomes. Word spread beyond the company walls. Industry circles whispered about the letter scandal, and Ronnie's name became synonymous with betrayal. No firm wanted to hire him, no partner wanted to associate with him. His once promising career in communications and analysis was effectively over. He tried to salvage what little reputation he had left, issuing public apologies and claiming mental health struggles as an explanation for his behavior. But people weren't convinced. His remorse came too late, after too much damage had been done. Michael, meanwhile, struggled to make sense of the betrayal. For weeks after the exposure, he couldn't focus. Every time he looked at his office, he remembered how Ronnie had once sat across from him, pretending to be his ally. The sense of violation ran deep. It wasn't just the forgery, he confided to Tracy one night. "It's the manipulation. He watched us fall apart and said nothing. He could have stopped it, but he didn't." Tracy nodded, her jaw tight. "He wanted control. But in the end, he lost everything." And indeed, Ronnie's downfall was both swift and complete. His finances were already strained, but the loss of employment and pending legal trouble pushed him into bankruptcy within months. His home was repossessed, his accounts frozen again, and the friends who had once admired his intelligence now avoided his calls. Isolation became his punishment. The same mind that had once been clever enough to forge near-perfect letters now turned against him, haunted by guilt and paranoia. He began seeing enemies in everyone, convinced that Michael and Tracy were orchestrating his ruin. But the truth was simpler: they didn't need to. Ronnie's actions had done the job for them. Tracy, ever the pragmatist, eventually moved past the emotional turmoil. She helped Michael rebuild his credibility by organizing a press conference, where they presented proof of the forgeries and cleared their names. It was painful, but necessary. The world needed to see that they were victims of deceit, not participants in it. The press conference became a defining moment, not only professionally, but personally. It restored their reputations and solidified their partnership, showing everyone that truth, once exposed, can heal even the deepest wounds. Meanwhile, Ronnie drifted from city to city, trying to start over under different aliases, but the digital trail of his scandal followed him everywhere. Background checks exposed him. Former employers warned potential new ones. In every interview, his name triggered suspicion. Even when he tried freelance work, clients backed out at the last minute after Googling him. The internet had made forgiveness impossible. It wasn't until 2 years later that Michael heard about Ronnie again. He received an anonymous email, just a few words, "I'm sorry for everything. I was wrong. R." There was no reply address, no attachments, nothing that could confirm its authenticity. But Michael didn't need confirmation. He knew it was real. The tone was unmistakable, defeated, stripped of arrogance, tinged with genuine remorse. He didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Tracy, when she heard about it, simply said, "Sometimes, losing everything is the only way some people learn what they had." It was a cold truth, but it resonated deeply. Ronnie's story became a cautionary tale, proof that deceit, no matter how skillfully executed, always leaves fingerprints. The irony was that Ronnie had been brilliant enough to succeed without resorting to manipulation.